Alrighty everyone, welcome back to the last and final part of my Star Wars talk. I apologize for this taking a little bit to come out here with the holidays and everything, plus with the newest movie coming out, Rise of Skywalker. I wanted to give it like at least a week before I came on here and said my feelings about just the entire sequel series, that trilogy, just because to me they all kind of flow the same, and I couldn't get into The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens without addressing Rise of Skywalker. So again, for those of you who are new, I am Krisdoesbeauty, also known in the Pinup world as Bonnie the Lovely. I'm Kristen. I work at Bombshell salon here in Carytown in Richmond, Virginia, and I like to do these little videos that are me doing some makeup and hair. This actual video in particular is me doing my look for the premiere of Rise of Skywalker. So I would do these sort of things with, get ready with me sort of thing going on the visual, and then me talking about a movie or something like that. This one, I'm not going to go through and break down each individual movie and go through the plot, just because I really want to get into my personal opinion and feelings, which I feel like have not been addressed in these movie talks. So also, this is now the point in the video where I let anyone know, for those of you who, one, haven't really seen any of the Star Wars sequels especially, and really haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, the newest one out in theaters right now, get off of this right now, or you have been warned. This is a spoiler-filled review / talk / whatever you want to call it. So, and also, again, please no negativity, no hate in the comments. I know that Star Wars fans have really gotten out of control and have really become the first group to truly troll the internet and give fans a really bad name other than Game of Thrones fans. But I think it all started with Star Wars. So after kind of playing off of that, what I will say is I feel about the movies as a whole, they work together, the three of them, but also at the same time they don't. After coming out of Rise of Skywalker last Thursday, I felt, and I still feel, kind of just, I guess, confused, to say the lack of a better word here. To me, it felt like the last movie felt very rushed. And in some parts, I wouldn't say I feel that about Last Jedi. Last Jedi to me is just, it was going in one direction, and it was very specific, that direction that it was going in, and I necessarily just don't think that is the direction that I had wanted to see it go in necessarily. And I'm not going to say, I'm not one of these people to say like, oh, Last Jedi isn't Star Wars, or it's terrible, or blame the director or the actors and actresses who spent so much time and money and energy into this movie. I would never do that or take that away from them. I just think it went in a direction that I personally wouldn't have done or didn't want it to go into. And I think it's hard for me too, just because I was a child when the prequels came out. So that to me is my Star Wars, and I did really like The Force Awakens, and I thought it was a really good film, but even rewatching it, it's just maybe I'm looking for a part of nostalgia in those movies that I'm just not going to be able to replicate, simply because I'm not a child anymore. It could be that. It could be that these movies, for me, just went into a direction that I wasn't really interested in. But the things you need to know about me are this. I am an Anakin, not just Darth Vader. I'm an Anakin supporter. I adore the prequels. 3 is my favorite, which I think says a lot in itself. So when you are listening to my reviews of these movies, keep that in mind, that I love the prequels. I adore them. I sometimes prefer them to the originals, so that could affect my opinion on the sequels. And I'm not going to say that they're terrible or they're awful. Like, I can still sit down and watch them, and I don't prefer them. I would rather, go to other movies before I go to those, but I don't think they are terrible, and they are still Star Wars. And after this last chapter, and after I've really let it sit in my head of what goes on in that movie, and mainly the whole Rey and Kylo, at first I didn't really know how I felt about it, just because it felt to me like fan fiction in a way, or like unnecessary fan service for people who wanted them to get together, even though they don't. But in a weird sort of way, it kind of does bring balance to that story anyway. I wouldn't say it's, I don't know, it's like in some parts I could see it bringing balance to the original, you know, including the prequels and the originals. I could see that, but to me, I'm just a huge Anakin fan, and my biggest disappointment is the lack of Anakin Skywalker in the sequels, which, I mean, you know, to each their own. A lot of people really hate Hayden Christensen, even though that has nothing to do with him. That's not his fault. A lot of people hate him. A lot of people hate that character, hate the direction George Lucas went with him, whatever. I personally love it and think it makes the most sense, really. Even though, having said that, he's not my favorite version of Anakin Skywalker that's out there. My favorite version is the Clone Wars version, but that's a whole nother thing. To me, I just wish that at the very end, where you see Luke and Leia on Tatooine at the end, I wish that you had actually seen Hayden Christensen as a Force ghost there. I don't really understand why you couldn't, especially since they have adapted the originals, that at the very end, they changed the Force ghost to Hayden Christensen, which kind of was like a bad, not a bad move, it was kind of like a mean move to do if you look at it, just because the guy who originally played Anakin Skywalker, he, you know, did that one scene where he's dying, and then they filmed him for, you know, as the Force ghost, and it's kind of like crummy that they're like, oh yeah, that's fine, we're gonna replace you now. But, you know, whatever, to each their own, I guess. But I prefer Hayden Christensen anyway, because, you know, prequel fan here. And I just wish that when you go back to Tatooine, which, you know, you first really see with Anakin, and, you know, of course you see with Luke and everything, and you can tell that was the point. But, I mean, Leia was never on Tatooine, so it is kind of weird to see her there and to see her lightsaber go there, because it's like, well, she was never even really there in the first place. So that's just my opinion about the whole thing, and I don't know, I'm, as you can tell, a huge Darth Vader fan, so I'm just waiting to see if anything kind of goes with that in the future. So anyway, that is me wrapping it up. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, what your favorite Star Wars movie is, and let me know what you think about the new one, and if you like it, if you dislike it. Just no bullying, basically, but you can, you know, sculpt your opinion whether or not you dislike it or like it or not. So, alrighty everyone, that is wrapping up this Star Wars series, and let me know if you like these type of videos, which ones are you interested in seeing in the future, and I will catch you on the next one.